Hey everybody, it's the Honey Badger, and today we're going to be working on the 720. It has been a while since we have. Today we're going to work on removing vacuum lines that are no longer needed with our Weber carburetor. There are two that need to remain. That is going to be the one that leads to the brake booster and the one that leads to the bottom of the distributor cap, which does the timing or the advanced timing. That one's got to stay as well. As far as I can tell, after doing a lot of research on the internet, those are the two for sure that need to stay. Everything else, more or less, can be removed. If we run into problems, we can always go backwards and correct that. I'll probably do some startups in between taking things off and making sure there's no weird issues that we're having. The only thing we really need for this is a couple generic tools to take stuff out, and then a couple of vacuum cap assorted items to cap off some of the things that we'll be removing. So we're going to be using these. I'll leave you some links in the descriptions to some of these kits, just so you have various sizes of those caps because they're not all exactly the same. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the first parts. We'll go over what's being taken off and what we're capping off. So to start things off, we're just going to kind of go over what my current situation is like with my vacuum lines. A lot of them are plugged in still. We have obviously some that go over here that we'll be removing, and they split over here, and then those run across the engine and head back over to the right. We also have one that's just legitimately not plugged into anything, and then we haven't capped these off, which need to be capped off because we don't have lines running into these right now. You are going to probably have a bit of a different setup depending on what you already have taken off or where you're at with your engine and whether or not you do or don't have a Weber carburetor. This is really if you have a Weber. If you have stock, I'm not going to know exactly what you need, but I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible without making this just a snooze fest. So we're going to work on removing this line as well, which leads over to the canister and all the other vacuum lines and sensors over there. And most of that will be removed on the right-hand side of the engine as well. So this will come off too. So just kind of take a look, pause the video if you need to. And we're going to start over, I think, here on the left side of the engine. This should be the easiest part to take out. It's just a couple over here. But this is where we're kind of, our baseline is with where we are starting out at. So the first part we're going to start at is just right behind the washer tank. I actually zip tied this one in because it's moving around. But what we're going to do is we have a T to these two, and this line leads over, and it actually T's again over here further down. We're going to start here by just removing these. We'll follow these lines back and cap them as we need, and then these are going to be completely removed. We'll unplug them from the sensor readouts. All right, so here's our first part where we're going to kind of pause at. So this is where they came off. Here's where the line runs. That line is going to split, and one of them goes in down here to a little part off the top of the manifold. We're going to remove this, and we're going to cap it off so we don't forget right now. If you want to know where I get my info for working on the 720, it is simple. It's e-manuals online. Detailed photos of what you're working on, step-by-step directions on what to do when you're doing a repair for your vehicle. I'm also happy to announce that you can save 22% off any site-wide purchase by using coupon code HoneyBadger22. That's right, I've teamed up with them to help save you a little bit of money, and if you use my affiliate link, which is in the description, you'll be sending a little bit back to the channel, which helps me with future projects here. So the link's in the description. Now back to the video. All right, so this is what we're talking about. So this is where we're going to be capping it off. It's still connected. We actually already have one already plugged here, but this is where we're going to be capping it off. Just want to give you a better look at where this first line is and where we're going to be capping. So we'll pull this off, and let's go get a cap. The cap we're using for this spot is a 5/32 cap. All right, we're capped off. All right, following this line the rest of the way, it is connected with another one in some clips. We're just gonna follow it down. It leads up and under and through to over here, which we're gonna just take this one and we're gonna unclip it and remove it. So that line runs all the way across the engine to that other one on the other side. Now we just need to fish it out because there is quite a lot of tangle that's going on. Obviously, this is going to make the engine bay a lot cleaner looking too. And there we go. We have that line out that came across the engine. It went to those two sensors plugged in over all the way across, then down into the manifold, and then across into this vacuum sensor of some type. So that's been removed. All right, the next part we're gonna work on is we actually have this one, which I think there's supposed to be one down here, but it's actually completely broken off. Try to get this out of the way so you can see. We're gonna cap these two off. We didn't have anything plugged into them at the moment. Obviously, this is just on the top of the manifold, so a little bit could obviously be sucked in there. Obviously, we don't need dirt coming into the engine. Not that it would be very big, but we're gonna cap these off real quick. I think this one's gonna be 530 seconds. This one's a little bit bigger. Let's find out what size it is. So let's try 530 seconds on the bottom. Yep. And we're gonna try 730 seconds on the top. Yep, and that looks to be the right size. So we'll leave those capped off. Don't exactly know what was running from those. Those came off when we swapped carburetors a while ago. But now those are capped off. So this next one we're going to take off here. This is going to be a bigger plug. And that runs across and through here. And it runs over to the canister, which we will probably be removing the whole thing with all these other vacuum lines in a moment when we get to that. But for now, let's get this disconnected and plugged and moved across. We're going to leave this connected for now because this unit is going to be removed in a moment. So we're not going to disconnect it any further. We don't need to. We're not going to cap that part off. We just need to cap over there. So we'll leave this as is for now. So now we need to cap this one off. We're going to pull out a 5/16. I think that's the right size. Yep, and that is snug. Yep, that shouldn't be going anywhere. While I'm thinking about it and looking at it, there are a couple canisters back here. We have not done an EGR delete on our system yet. Now, I probably will do an EGR delete, and that will get rid of some of this back here as well. But for now, it isn't. This one's been capped off, and this one hasn't. I don't know why this isn't capped off, so we're going to go ahead and throw one on that. It looks like a 5/16 or a 7/30 seconds. I think we're going with 7/30 seconds. Yep, we'll throw that on that for now. We'll call it good. All right, so for this next part, this line that was the line that was not plugged into anything, this actually runs down to the front of the engine where there's 3 metal lines, vacuum lines that run across. This runs into it along with a couple others, and there's like a little metal line or vacuum line set and runs down and across. In fact, I can see an angle here. Let me move the camera so we can peek in here real quick. So right there, those 3 lines, that is part of those metal vacuum lines down there in the bottom. So that's what runs across the engine. That's where that one line that's loose out here is at. So here's that loose vacuum line, if this focuses up. So here's this loose vacuum line. That runs down into those 3 lines. Now those 3 metal lines, you can remove that once you get that all taken out if we don't need any of those, but I'm going to leave it because it's kind of deep in there and not in the way at the moment. So we'll leave it for now, but let's see what all is running in and out of it. Earlier I was mentioning you want to keep 2 of the vacuum lines still attached, one of them being the one from the brake booster. That's going to be this line right here. It goes up and over. It's actually already capped off on one side, but it runs over and across and down here. And then it actually has a tube. Oh, no, that's not off of it. It is just part of the screw. So runs over and across. We're going to leave this. This one's staying. So that one doesn't need to go anywhere. The other one that's going to be staying on the engine is this line right here. This one's going to stay on the bottom of the carburetor where it's plugged in, just right down here. This line then runs up, over, across, and then it starts to run down. And let's adjust this so we can see in here since it's so damn dark. It runs across this and then down, and it connects right here. So let this one stay in there. That one's not going to be removed. I know this camera work isn't amazing, but it's really tight down here and it's very dark. But that one's going to run up and across the engine, and we're going to leave that one in there. We've gotten quite a bit removed over here. There's still a little bit more we need to look at, but next is going to be this mess over here. Here's that line that we already removed. We just kind of have that hanging out the front. Next, we're going to probably unplug and disconnect quite a few things over here. One of them goes underneath the washer tank. This one actually is a feed line back to the, I think, the gas tank. So we're going to unplug that. I believe it's this one underneath here, and we're going to cap that off. Maybe we'll take out the tank so we can really get a good shot of that. And then we're gonna disconnect just honestly a lot of this junk. And these are, I believe, the two main lines that we were talking about that run down into the 3 metal lines that run across the front of the engine. So we should hopefully find these 2 down there and be able to unplug them. So let's see if we can just start loosening this up and see where everything heads. We'll leave this loom. These look to be going to something else, like timing. This is where that one was plugged in that we removed earlier in the video. So this is just gonna stay on that, but these are gonna stay as is. We're just gonna move those out of the way for the time being. We're gonna follow then these 2 lines. Obviously it tees here. Don't need to disconnect that. That's all gonna stay the same. So let's go ahead and follow these 2 lines and see where they go. So we just got these 2 lines unwrapped and untangled, and they follow down and they go through here. And they're actually these 2 lines right here. So this one and this one. These 2 are gonna be removed, and those go to this metal line that I was talking about that leads into the front of the engine and up across it. So we're just gonna take them out here. They should no longer be needed. This second thicker one actually has one of those metal clips on it. So we're gonna have to get a pair of pliers down on it and loosen that and back it off so we can remove it. And it's dark down there, so we're pulling out the big lights. Oh, and one of the vacuum lines that runs into it already is completely severed off. So actually, let's get a better look at this right now. So there's our 3 vacuum lines. The top one has already been unplugged. That second one I was talking about has to be removed with the pliers. It's got a little metal clip sleeve on it. And actually the bottom one has already been severed at some point. So clearly that was doing nothing. So we'll remove that as well. And then we should have these 3 taken apart and taken care of. And we'll follow them up onto the other side of the engine and see where they lead to and remove those as well. All right, now with all these lines disconnected, we can probably start to remove this, but we still have to remember we have this line that we still need to take out and plug. So I don't know if it'll be easy to remove from here. That's to the fuel tank. But we will probably just unscrew this real quick. And I think that'll be all that takes to get the radiator reservoir out. And I have replaced that in a video, so if you want one that looks a lot cleaner and newer than maybe your old one that's deteriorating like how mine was, I'll leave you a link to that video as well. Here's that line that we're going to take out. That goes to fuel tank. Give it a twist if it's tight, because it's probably pretty seized onto there like how most of these have been so far. Gone really far. And that's come off, and I'm gonna guess 7:30 seconds. Let's see. Yep. 7:30 seconds plugged. All right, we're plugged up. That can sit hidden under there for eternity now. Now, everything has been disconnected from the canister. Looks like it just pulls straight out. There was a spring on it that helps it stay in place, but you can just yank this bad boy straight up and out, and we can go ahead and put that on the bench. All right, we're again back over onto this side of the engine. We just gave it another startup after removing the canister and all those lines. No issues again. Everything started fine. No weird idling, no weird issues. For now, the original not connected line, I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive though, that this line does nothing and goes nowhere. I believe, and I'm going to just feel around because there's just no good way to check or see because of the power steering reservoir right here. I don't think we're going to get good eyes on this, so I'm just going to stick my hand down here and feel. That metal, those 3 metal vacuum lines that run across the engine, I can not quite see it. I can see where it goes, but I can feel where I'm at right now, and that is that one of those lines. So we're just going to remove this. We're just going to sneak it off with our finger. Got it. And remove this one again. It wasn't plugged into anything. It was going to one of those but this is no longer needed. And I believe the last line that we're going to be removing, again, this is the one that's staying, so I'll just push that up out of here, is this one down here on the bottom. This line actually has a split in it right here. It runs down underneath to those 3 lines that run across the engine, and nothing's plugged into those on the far side with the canister, so we're going to go ahead and remove this one, and I'm going to guess we'll cap it with a big one like that as well. How about 1/4 inch? 1/4 inch cap, 1/4 inch. And that's capped off. Now let's follow this line down here and just remove it. Just like that. Oh, and that one actually is on with a metal clip, but apparently if you pull hard enough, it'll just come off. So that is also no longer needed. Now, every vacuum line is pretty much removed at the moment. What we could do is we could clean some of this up. This big bracket doesn't really need to stay in here and is kind of ugly, so we might work on this either in a future video, maybe a separate video. Now, the distributors are actually, I think these are the coils, not distributors. The coils are actually mounted to it, so you can mount those just down here if you want and take this out completely. We may do that in a future video, maybe, or put it back in and just paint this and clean that up so it's less ugly. Also, if anyone knows what this is, let me know. I don't actually. So, yeah, let me know what that is. I just noticed that there. I don't think I'd ever seen it because all that stuff in the way. So, that is now removed. All right, so everything that we don't need should be removed, and everything we do need should still be connected. Let's go for a quick test drive after we clean this nonsense off, and let's see how it runs, see if we notice any differences. I'm assuming we won't. But at least none of that will be in there anymore, and we shouldn't have any problems with it in the future if it caused a weird issue. So let's go for a quick test drive. So we're back and actually better than ever. I actually had 2 issues with the 720 prior to that vacuum removal of all the unnecessary ones. So my 2 issues recently are, one, when I turn the engine off, it would kind of continue to chug and not completely turn off. I'd usually have to drop the clutch to just get it to stop. That seems to not be an issue after I just pulled in after about 10 miles and no issues. And usually it would do that every time I turn the vehicle off. So that seems done. Hopefully it stays that way. The other bigger issue was when I previously would drive the vehicle, I could not touch full throttle. It would start to backfire, chug, and I'd have a huge loss of power. That must have been a vacuum, one of those vacuum lines that was not plugged into something or was not capped off properly, because I just drove 10 miles doing full throttle on and off in different gears at different RPMs, so I had different loads on the engine, and not once did I have a backfire, which is fantastic because I would get those nonstop if I ever went near full throttle. So that is amazing that that's fixed. It was clearly a vacuum line issue. I'm glad it's fixed because I actually want to be taking this on further adventures, but I've been hesitant to because if I've ever needed to get somewhere or have a little extra power, I didn't have it. So now that that's taken care of, I've actually been thinking about going on some little adventures in the 720 and filming those. If that's something you'd be interested in, make sure you let me know in the comments. I will hopefully be trying to make it out to a couple places where I can do some light off-roading if possible. If not, I just want to visit some cool locations near me and film some fun adventures if possible. So I'm glad that's taken care of. It's going to look a heck of a lot nicer, but everything seems to be working out just nicely for me now. So I'm very excited about that. If you found this video helpful, make sure you leave a like on the video so other people can find it, and make sure you are subscribed for future Nissan 720 content. I have some other content coming out too on my daily as well, so make sure you are subscribed, and until then, I'll just see all of you guys in the next one.